The Nigerian Stock Exchange, as part of its investor education program, hosted a smart investing workshop which focused on exchange-traded funds. It brought together securities dealing members, retail investors, and market correspondents. In his opening remarks, the CEO of the NSE, Mr Oscar Onyema, gave insight into the value of the ETFs to the Nigerian capital market and economy.
From its origins in the 1990s, ETF investments were designed to provide users a single security to track an index and trade intraday. This rapidly growing asset class is radically reshaping the asset management industry, gradually eclipsing old-fashioned stock pickers given its ability to replicate passive investment styles. ETFs, just like other capital market products, if properly deployed, can also play a role in fostering economic development. With the market witnessing low yields, there's an increasing appetite for equities, and ETFs present investors an alternative channel to maximize investments in equities. In line with our commitment to develop the market, the exchange remains resolute in its goal to collaborate with market stakeholders to increase listed ETFs with a view to providing domestic investors international and alternative diversification opportunities. We are truly pleased to host this event in collaboration with Meristem Wealth Management Limited. This workshop is aimed at creating awareness, increasing knowledge depth to foster adoption of ETFs in Nigeria, and presenting the investing public with smart investment options provided by the exchange. We believe that your participation is an indication of your interest in the various options available on the exchange, and thus encourage you to maximize this opportunity.
The workshop also featured presentations from Ariyike Daramola of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and Mr. Taiwo Yusuf of Meristem Securities on critical issues around ETFs and why investors should key into this segment of the market.
There is a smart way to go about it, because remember, an ETF is basically mirroring and replicating an index that a professional or a market has basically created. So what you need to pay attention to is the criteria of that index. So if you're interested in consumer goods as well, there's a consumer goods index. So the likes of Nestle, XYZ are in that index. So it's actually 29 times cheaper to use an ETF, right, to participate in the banking index. So the benefits of an ETF basically are that it helps to diversify your portfolio, and it's actually very convenient and cost effective. So just see an ETF as an instrument. It's a vehicle, basically, that gives you access to an index. So let's keep it simple. We won't go, technical today. It's an instrument that gives you access to an index, because you don't want to buy all the stocks in the index. You want a smarter way to go about it than just buy an ETF. It's just one instrument, right? So an ETF is also, just see it as a share and a mutual fund. It's a mutual fund. Why? Because it is managed or created by a fund manager. So there's a bit of expertise going on there. And it behaves like a share. It behaves like a share. Why? Because it trades on the exchange just like a stock, which means you don't need anyone to tell you when to buy or when to sell. You don't need to call someone and say, oh, I have not gotten the proceeds of my investment. Where is it? No. Once you send your order through the broker, it goes into the market, so you have control, basically. So you get, two for the price of one. You get managed service, you get managed service, yes, from the fund manager, and as well, you have control in terms of how you trade in and out of the market. This is a point that a lot of investors are interested in, in terms of investor protection. No one wants to invest in something and they are worried that, oh, what will go wrong with my, with my funds or with this structure. An ETF, the way it has been set up by the regulators in Nigeria, the SEC and the NSE, is that ETF must be managed by a fund manager, yes, but the assets cannot be held with the fund manager. It is held with somebody else, like a custodian. So the fund manager cannot just do whatever he wants at will, right? Or use your money. So there's a trust structure. It is held by a trustee. It is managed by the trustee as well, managed by the fund manager, but it is held with a custodian. So your investment is basically safe. Our message to you today is, adopt, a passive active strategy, one that gives you exposure to a certain index. Then as you get used to that, you can then start to buy, individual stocks. On the exchange as well, we have a very wide, portfolio of products as well that we offer to investors. I'm sure you'd have heard about this. So we continue to remain, a multi-asset, exchange, focused on providing investing and financing solutions, for investors and issuers. And so please take advantage of the various investing options that we have provided for you. The idea is to, give you things that help you achieve your investment objectives in a very, smart way, which are ETFs and indices. Thank you.
Now, we just want to highlight the benefits of investing in the ETF. It's easily tradable, just like your stocks. You can, it's listed on the exchange. So just like you trade in your stock, you also can trade in the ETF. The trading times here is just trying to compare the mutual fund, the stocks, and the ETFs. Unlike mutual funds that you have to get in touch with your fund manager to get the price and all that. The ETFs, you can get the price and it trades all day during the trading hours that the Nigeria Stock Exchange is open. And also, one of the good things about ETF is that if you have the minimum amount, you could as well redeem the underlying stocks of those ETFs. Rather than trade it on the exchange, you can as well also redeem those stocks and have access to those stocks. And of course, we've stated several times, transaction cost, it lowers the transaction cost compared to buying the stock, individual stocks. The objective of the growth and the value ETFs that will be coming to the market is to also create the diversification, deepen the Nigeria Stock Exchange market. This is appealing to both the retail investors and to institutional investors. Many investment managers want to track different performances that is different from the traditional way that portfolios are managed. So coming to the market with this index also give them the opportunity to extend the way that the investments are managed. Now, when it comes to equity ETFs, this slide more or less talked about equity ETFs. When it comes to price risk, the same way that stocks do have are volatile, is the same way that the ETF value can go up and down. So you do have the price risk when it comes to ETF investment. Now, the stock selection. Now, what are the risks that comes to stock selection? Like I stated earlier, they are rule-based. So once a stock does not meet the rules that have been created set up for the purpose of the creation of that index, once the stock do not meet up that rule, then the stock is taken out of the index. Yeah, when it comes to business risk, essentially is more or less looking at the risk that, okay, what is the potential that the return that the index, the ETF do not track 100% the return on the index. The only thing that can happen in that instance is more or less just the cost when it comes to maintaining those ETFs. So aside from, and those are most times are kept to a very minimal, such that the return on the index and the return the ETFs accrues are more or less very close.
Ariyike Daramola speaks further on the workshop and the strategy of NSE in creating more awareness on the ETFs.
What we're trying to do is, basically show investors the various smart options available on the exchange, help them see how they can adopt ETFs, as a vehicle for expressing their investment objectives. On the exchange, we have ETFs that cover different asset classes, cover equities, that cover bonds, that covers commodities, and even smart options. So you basically have something to choose from, right? The stock exchange has equities listed, as you're aware, but we have curated some indices that basically helps investors, in choosing the stocks that they can invest in. We have value indices that are smart. That is a smarter way of picking stocks, that are undervalued. include. We have a growth index as well that basically helps investors, select stocks, that have growth potential. So the idea is, trying to get retail investors more warm and comfortable, with the various indices and ETFs on the exchange, so they can use it to, achieve their investment objectives. So case in point, there are some indices and ETFs on the exchange that have actually outperformed the broad market. So the idea is we're creating awareness for investors to use these indices and use these ETFs, and don't and not sit on the sidelines. So basically the call today is for all investors to begin to embrace smarter investing options, using ETFs and indices.
The exchange-traded funds have been described as viable alternative channel to maximize investments in the equities market. It is expected that the series of the Smart Investing Workshop will foster adoption of ETFs in the Nigerian capital market.